Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case. Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to Vermontitude.com, Reformer.com, Brattleboro.tv, and locally on Comcast Channel 1078. We come to you from our studios at the Innovation Box on Landmark Hill. I'm Peter Fish Case, and each week I cover the topics that are of concern to Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Today, we're going to be discussing one person, one vote, representative town meeting versus open town meeting. Joining me are Randy Blodgett, who is running for a one-year seat on the Brattleboro Select Board, and Tom Franks, who's just a guy about town. Welcome, guys.
Well, thanks,
Welcome.
Peter.
All right. Let's get into it. So let's start with the one person, one vote, right? That's the initiative that is going to be on the ballot in March for Australian ballot. Let's weigh into that.
Sure. Well, one person, one vote is our catchy name for Australian ballot. Australian ballot is also known as secret ballot. In the Australian ballot methodology, people can vote on important issues pretty much in their own time, in private, and it has much higher turnout than other methods of voting. It also provides way fewer barriers to participation. In a open town meeting or a representative town meeting, you have to be in a certain place at a certain time for, as we all know, an uncertain duration. This presents a lot of barriers to people who may not be able to get there, and I'll stop there because I can go on for hours.
I know it's a complex thing. I've kind of gone through the ebbs and the flows with it, and I like everybody weighing in. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers. And you guys did a presentation at the last select board meeting that kind of weighed into participation numbers. So, give us some examples.
Well, just the short answer is the larger the community, the lower the participation in open town meeting. This data comes from the Vermont Secretary of State. They publish participation rates every year, and they also publish what people vote on by different methodologies.
Okay.
They have two. One they call floor vote, which is open town meeting, and RTM. We're the only community with representative town meeting. The rest have open town meeting. In floor voting, the maximum participation of eligible voters is close to 20%. It drops rapidly as town size increases, getting just a little bit above 1%. So if you have an open town meeting, or in our case, representative town meeting, at most you're getting 1 or 2% participation if your population is over 5,000 voters.
Okay.
And we're up there.
Yeah.
In terms of Australian ballot or secret ballot, smaller towns tend to participate more. They get up to about 25% on average, but it doesn't fall off. As town size increases, it actually, it goes down a little bit, then it goes up again. So you end up with an average participation rate of 22%, both versus somewhere around 11.
Okay. Let's, with all that in mind, this would be a change to the charter, correct?
Yes, we petitioned for a charter change. We had two articles that we put as one would be, first one, which is required to do anything else, is to discontinue representative town meeting. So I just want to make a point here. It's like, in a way, we're saying no to RTM, but in order to say no to RTM, you have to vote yes. So it's a little bit confusing, and it has to do with the legal law that we got advice from the town meeting. So to discontinue, the ballot article that we put forward is, shall the town of Brattleboro discontinue the representative town meeting form of government? So if you want that to happen, you got to vote yes to discontinue it.
All right.
If that passes, the article we put forward says, if that passes, does Brattleboro adopt a Australian ballot for a couple of things, some of which it already does, just to get it in the charter appropriately. And the big one is the budget.
Yeah.
We felt it was critical in our time, in this time, for as many taxpayers as possible, as many voters as possible, to be eligible to vote on the budget. If they care, they can vote. They don't have to vote, but there's nothing that stops them.
Right. So there's no election process. There's no if you vote early, you can vote on it then.
That's correct. Yeah. You can vote. You don't need to be able to be in a place at a time for who knows how long. You don't need to be able to get there. If you have transportation issues, you can vote. If you have a job that you can't leave on the day that the meeting is happening, you can vote. If you have kids you can't leave alone, if you have elderly parents you can't leave. There are so many ways that the voters of a town are disenfranchised by either open town meeting and especially representative town meeting, because you've got to get elected to go to be a member.
Correct.
And vote there.
Right. And I think I know that this first issue sort of came up about getting rid of RTM because of the amount of problems that we were having with getting people to actually vote for it. And I think last year that sort of changed. There was one, it seemed to be initiated by one issue, and a lot of people showed up, but there was always like select no more than 15, and there would be 7 names to choose from.
And this year we've reverted because my understanding is I think there's about 16 open seats that will have to be caucused in. And it ranges, I think District 7's 5 or 6. One district has 7, slightly more, but there will be caucusing done because people that were running for re-election either decided not to be in or other people just didn't run for open seats. So it's mostly 1 and 2 year seats, but we still are going to be electing RTM members by caucus, either at the RTM informational meeting, and then OTM, obviously, we don't have to worry about that if we're into April, but there was less participation.
Yeah. So when let's talk about the caucusing, having been involved in that for every year since I was an RTM member, elected in, who always had to caucus in, always had that problem. Even last year when there was a hotly contested thing, we still had to caucus people in. With open town meeting, you just show up, right? I mean, is that a better form of government? As far as, just personal opinions is all I'm really looking for.
So, Charter Review Commission, our group was highly involved going with that, looking at that, listening, giving input. And, we definitely think it was better than RTM, but it still has a lot of limitations that Tom talked about, all those barriers that you have to be there. So, our preferred method was Australian ballot because of the 9,000 and some voters currently this year. Even if they decide not to vote, they voted. That's their choice to not show up.
Right.
Like some people say, I'm present or I'm in absent, and that's a choice. You had the right to vote and you chose a way of not voting or voting your conscience. And that's all we want. And the big argument has always been, debate, amendments, all these things. And I think they're great, but I'm trying to look back and I'm still doing the research. I haven't seen a lot of amendments or things turn into where there was a change that was substantive.
Right.
And so I'm not saying that's not important in people's minds to talk, but why aren't they coming to select board meetings? Why aren't they coming to listening sessions? Why aren't they going to committee meetings, which I've tried to go to a bunch of those over the last year? That's the time where you influence decisions in town, where you say and do and lobby and do things to get to people to understand what you're thinking or a group of you are thinking. And I think we need more of that in town. And we're just not getting that except for hot button issues.
Right.
So I would tell people, think about that, just because you can go on social media or somewhere else and argue about one thing that's bothering you. Well, we've got lots of things that are bothering us. And to me, Australian ballot lets every single person that registers to vote. We have no shortage of registered voters. Out of 12,000 people, I think it's like 9,600 and some voters currently.
Right.
But we're only having in the 20 percentile show up for March, and it's from 60 to 72% for a general election in November. And that's since 2012. So, you got to follow through. If you have an opinion, you got to vote.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't disagree. You know, I know that there are a lot of people who only find out about things in the 11th hour because they get elevated or escalated, and somebody finds out about it. Somebody maybe does make a social media thing, does a letter to the editor, something like that, to sort of like heighten our awareness to it, and then that's when that's when, you know, when we're about ready to make a decision on something, that's where most of this comes into play. But this sort of changes that playing field a little bit, right? I mean, this gives us the opportunity to say, so this is coming up. We're not in the 11th hour. You get to vote on it.
And what I would say is, if we do get Australian ballot, it's fundamentally going to change the way the government can communicate.
Right.
We should be having more information sessions to promote participation, and definitely one at the end before the board's last vote to say, okay, we've listened to all your changes to line items, where the budget's headed, what you think the future of the town is and where we want to go. Then here's one more opportunity for you to give us some input. Will it change? Maybe not, but at least people are informed of the entirety of what's going to happen. Then the board gets to hear that. And then you go from there, so that when it does go to an Australian ballot vote, hey, the board, the town has done everything that they could to say, here's the direction we're going in. So that hopefully, if there wasn't an overwhelming saying, hey, no, we don't want this, a yes vote is fine. And if it's a no vote, they should be informed of why it's no.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion at that point. But we can't do business as usual. It's got to be more communication, better communication, more often on all topics, so that if you want to be informed, the newspaper's picked it up, it's on the website as a press release or a blog. And I would encourage select board members and the town manager to participate in that as a way to communicate with the citizens of what we're thinking, where we're headed.
Okay. Any last thoughts as to like if there are questions people have, do they ask you? Where do they learn more about this? Because when you're making a charter revision, this is nothing that's going to go into effect this year.
No, it's not.
Right.
In fact, excuse me, I didn't finish. The other piece of the vote that's coming up is that there's also a petitioned vote to have open town meeting.
Right.
I won't speak. I will just say to that item, if the RTM was discontinued and the Australian ballot initiative did not pass, open town meeting would have happened automatically by statute.
Right.
So that's just something people should know when they go in to vote. There is a potential that both the open town meeting and Australian ballot or secret ballot will pass in March.
Right.
Which anything that passes that's a charter change goes to the legislature, and it's uncertain how the legislature will react to a community that sends two conflicting charter changes to it. We know they do take time to approve charter changes. So
right.
Whatever happens this year may be happening for a while.
Yeah. So again, regardless, if we end up with open town meeting and Australian ballot, it doesn't mean that the people of Brattleboro get to not discuss it.
No.
I guess that's the important thing.
Well, actually, statutorily, if you have Australian ballot, there's pretty much the same thing as the informational sessions and
right.
are required.
Right.
And anybody can attend. And it's not like the representative town meeting information sessions where only people who are elected get to speak first.
Right.
And sometimes at representative town meeting, you can be a citizen there and not get to speak because someone who's on the other side of the rope says, oh, I'm done listening to you people. Let's call for a vote. And then a lot of people don't get to speak.
Right. This is a way, I think this is one of the pieces of information of confusion that I wanted to sort of straighten out, is that you're not getting your opportunity not to speak on an issue.
Double negative. I'm lost.
With you get to talk. You get to debate.
Talk.
You get the information you need, regardless of which way we go.
That's absolutely correct. And there's very little difference in terms of what information people have or opportunity to talk, to discuss, to learn.
Okay.
The loudest thing I just want to point out that I think we have in this community is everyone's singular vote. That would be the loudest statement versus a debate versus amending something. if people would show up for the local election, which in my mind is more important than a national election,
I wouldn't disagree.
and make a statement that, yes, our singular voice and vote is the most important thing we have as a citizen. And I would hope and encourage, beyond which side of this you fall on, of the three options, that everyone comes out and votes this year, and that we can have more than, in the 20 percentile, that let's make it a national election. Show up and tell us what you want as a town, and then let's move forward from that.
All right.
And the good thing is you can vote on it early by absentee ballot because it is an Australian ballot.
Right.
So there's no reason for not participating in this vote.
Yep.
You can do it at your convenience. You can call the town clerks. You can get it by mail. I think you can get it by mail.
Yep. You can.
There is no barrier to participating. So all you Brattleboro voters, let's do it.
Yeah.
The 17th, I think you can start voting in person at
Yes.
the town clerk's office,
Correct.
they said.
Yep. There's no reason. Voting has never been easier than it is right now, so get out there and do it. Tom Franks, Randy Blodgett, thanks for jumping on Vermontitude today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Pete.